Hello, fire goddesses. Welcome to episode 61. I am thrilled to introduce you to my next guest, Glenda Barber. As you will quickly discover, Glenda has this unbelievable, bright, heart centered energy. You're going to hear it in her voice. And what she is bringing to the table and what she is offering is really special, and you will quickly discover her amazing light, her amazing heart, and how she helps primarily women rediscover that part of themselves that may or may not have been lost along the way. Now, if you listen to this episode and if you listen to this podcast, chances are there is something about this podcast that really resonates with you. It's all about reclaiming your fire. It's all about reclaiming financial independence and financial freedom, inner peace, radiant health, and energy alignment. And I mentioned to Glenda during the interview, I said, Glenda, you are the perfect guest because of what this podcast is all about and what it embodies is very similar to what you embody. And personally, I had a session with Glenda. I had a hypnosis session with Glenda, and it was really amazing. And I'm a big believer in hypnotherapy and hypnosis. And I really think that all of the tools that Glenda brings together and what she offers her clients is really unique. So without further ado, I invite you to listen to episode 61 with Glenda Barber. Hello, fire goddesses. Welcome to the Reclaim Your Fire podcast. My name is Angela Noel, and I'm a prosperity coach for the newly awakened or awake curious, driven overachiever, and overdoer. After running a successful acupuncture practice in Boston for 12 years, I decided to hang my hat by closing the practice and pursue what it is that I'm really meant to do in this world. And that is to serve humanity online on a global scale. Using my background in Chinese medicine, along with the brain science of habits, spirituality, and divine masculine and feminine energy balance, I am here to help you not just understand, but know how powerful you are and that you are the person who is responsible for having these finances, inner peace, radiant health, and energy, aka the fire, in your life that you've always desired. My intention with this podcast is to serve humanity, no matter what gender you identify as, to help bring out the divine feminine goddess in each and every one of you. As you probably are already aware, the world is changing and is begging for the goddess to come out in each and every one of you. So, fire goddesses, stay tuned. Hello, fire goddesses. Welcome to another exciting episode. And I have another lovely guest. I'd like to introduce you all to Glenda Barber. Glenda, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm really grateful for your energy and for your presence today, Glenda. And I'm curious to know, and if you could just introduce yourself to the audience, to the goddesses who are listening, if you could let them know who you are and how you help people.
Okay, thank you. I am a spiritual leader. I help people who are either seeking or who are spiritually aligned, who've maybe lost the disconnect, lost their passion, lost their drive, have gone through a hard time and are looking at how to, see what that looks like again for them or feel their passion back, get the drive, get the motivation. We do that by, sitting together, me asking the right questions to help them kind of regroup and actually embody what they want life to be like. And we sat on a program with somebody who showed us some tools on how to do that. And
Yes.
so I embody them fully, sit with them, get them excited about what they could look like. And then we start from there I'm sure most coaches do the same thing. Find out what it is that somebody really wants. But if they're not able to identify it, we'll see what the missing links are to make them feel zazz, but and feel that kind of grounded to the ground and to the ethers, really, because we can live that passion and more likely to have it line up with us fast. And then we work backwards, so to speak. Find, okay, let's start from the now, meet you where you're at. Now we've spoke about where that is, and I've got a program in place that we sit and go through the methods that I know, which could be anywhere from chakra balancing, um, meeting soul to soul, really listening to see what it is that you want to bring in, being the client wants to bring into fruition in their life. And I do Akashic record reading. I've done 5-path hypnosis with wonderful using 7-path self-hypnosis as a tool to support that. There's lots of other little things we can show along the way, how to support and build the habits while we do this program together. And I think the program is the way to go, especially for somebody seeking initially, because it kind of lays the basis for where we can go with things in the future. And I'm going to say, like, we've been instructed how to build a firm habit muscle if we're not used to that.
So much goodness in what you said, Glenda. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just love particularly what you said in the beginning of our conversation about how you help people who lost their drive and motivation. And what I'm hearing, I feel like you're the perfect guest for this podcast, because I just changed the podcast to Reclaim Your Fire. So it's for people who are ready to reclaim themselves and really claim their sovereignty and authority and who they truly are. So thank you, so much for sharing your wisdom today. So Glenda, I'm just curious to know what specifically caused you to go the route that you are in your business, because in what you just mentioned before, it sounds like you have a lot of tools in your toolbox, don't you?
Thanks for asking. I think until I actually embodied fully what your self-worth and loving yourself can feel like, I stopped searching. And you're going to laugh about that corny adage about when you say you feel like you've come home. If I go to Cheers, it's strictly just because it was that simple. I was a really good seeker. You see the hair color I have. I had glorious moments throughout it that showed me what it feels like to feel aligned and contented, peaceful, anywhere from working together energetically, with tools people gave me in my 20s. But what I didn't know at that time is what I was saying about coming home. So I kept seeking. I've been an overachiever since I'm small. When I was not feeling contented, it was because of the disconnect of self. And so then I would be a really good people pleaser, a really external validator to others. I knew very well how to placate others, how to be the peacekeeper. Anyway, so the flip side, when you aren't doing those things, you're making my own connection within me congruent. Now, you heard me just a second ago, last 30 seconds, I was nervous. Now I'm coming back into my own. As I say the words, it fits, and my skin feels right. I feel alive. I feel passionate because I'm coming from my own truth, my own soul's essence, So I wasn't, when I was seeking externally, I wasn't doing any of those things. So in my 20s, I found it, but I didn't understand to the depth what you really possibly do with your life until I, really kicked to the curb some of the beliefs that I allowed to get in the way, about being worthy to be in that space. You asked me that the one thing I spoke to earlier, the one thing that I remember the most, I was in my 20s. I went to a healing retreat in North Carolina. And that's far away from where I lived when I was 18, It felt like it anyway. I'd never been to a lot of places. The point was, I met somebody who embodied love. When she came in the room, we were about 30. We did this, You had to look over your shoulder because there was this effervescence from her of joy, and didn't even know it was love at the time. The point was, she had a near-death experience, and she was auditing my teacher. And we were all in this place to share and learn and embody these different modalities that we all brought. I was a Reiki person at that time. And so we shared. The point was, she came to audit my teacher, and my teacher didn't even know she was coming. And she was written up in books. Later on, I found out about this near-death experience she'd had, but the brief encounter left me changed. She did a meditation for us. She spoke of course to the teacher, but the class, we only had this encounter of 3 points in our lives that finally came together when I said I felt like I come home. Again, I'm in my late 50s. So I was pretty young when I went, and it was maybe 25 when I met the lady. It came to fruition probably 5 years ago, the end of that meditation. There was 3 points in my life, they were all going to align. So when they did, that memory came back to me. I have since reconnected with my teacher 30 years later. Said, you know what, I needed to connect with you when I had that point that I'm speaking about. I felt like I was coming home, and I just needed to validate, like, what did we learn? Well, what I learned was, for me, that we're all love. We all share that universal connection. And she showed us a methodology from her, what she had downloaded when she was there. She didn't want to go back. That's how much unconditional love there was. And she liked it. When I say there, I meant wherever it is that we go when we're passing over. And that left me changed. That left me with no matter what I did in my physical 3D world here, I knew where I was going because she emanated it so much. There was no argument. She shifted the whole room in that moment. So I'm digressing back to the point. My heart went like this. I didn't know it, but then I kept seeking what she spoke about. So I just saw it and kept busy, distracted in a different way. So I really, had glimpses, but I still got in my way, which was stop trying to do it my way and just feel supported and loved. Share that, be at one with it, share it with anybody I know in any way, shape, or form, as long as it's, safe and brings us both forward. It doesn't do the placating I spoke about. It empowers us. We feel the passion. If we take care of ourselves and physically and on all levels, that energy is just, it's unexpendable. It's like the battery doesn't go down. And when I know when I'm not taking care of me, it goes down.
Yes. Okay, so many nuggets you just threw, Glenda. First of all, I want to just you are such a light. I want to just let's just put it out on the table right now. You're such a light. You're dressed in. I don't do video. I'm not doing my podcast on video at the moment, but Glenda's wearing all white. She's like an angel, and I really I'm grateful that you shared that experience with me on this episode today. I feel like a lot of people will hear that. What really touched my heart is when you said just the coming home. What caused you to come? What caused you to go this route? And it's just a matter of coming home and coming home to who you truly are and who we all are, which is love, which is infinite love. And I love that experience that you shared with your teacher's. Was it your teacher's assistant or just somebody that was coming in to take a look at your teacher, and how she inspired you that many years ago, and how you're still just embodying that because of that experience. And I feel like we as humans, we often do have these experiences that inform who we are and the path and the trajectory that we take in our life. So I just want to reflect that back to you, Glenda, and thank you so much for sharing. So you are a massage therapist, a Reiki practitioner. I know you're a hypnotherapist, and you read Akashic. Did I say that correct?
Yes, you do. Akashic records. Yes.
Akashic. Thank you. Akashic records. So
there's only one. Just depending on where we're doing the work, I go by a master hypnotist because hypnotherapy implies therapy. So I just wanted to be clear. I help people to show up to help shift their limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
regard to therapy, if someone does come with issues in that regard, we look at it closely to see if I can help. I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, thank you for, no, I appreciate that clarification. So, if somebody comes to you, like, first of all, what types of people do you often work with, and what specifically are they working through, or what do they want help on?
I would like to say that what I was saying, trying to recreate their passion, reconnect. And if they aren't aware that they've lost the connection, they might be still seeking. So what I'm saying, seeking to their purpose. Why are we here? Get clear, so that in my case, I was speaking of so many distractions that I allowed myself to kind of, ping pong ball through my life, capitalizing on the beautiful parts. I did waste some energies in places. So if I knew then what I know now, that's the phrase that's always difficult, right? Would be to flow with my heart, stay open, but be real about what is real for me, which is my soul said I need to reconnect with myself, share that outward, teach it, show it, do the best I can with it. So if I can help somebody else show up, finding out what that is for them, not in my words, but what really makes them go, wow, that's what I believe I'm here to do. So if I can help people to reframe what that looks like, or frame it,
Yeah.
if with a full energy involved, then we have a point B. We can start back here and just chunk what's in the way. And sometimes it's as easy as believing it's easy.
Yeah.
The vibe I put out in the world is what I attract. And I do believe, by coming from flow and believing that we're from universal love, that I have a soul contract, that I show up in the way I said, show other souls, how to be their best. I'm going to attract the vibe that it is that I am. So it's up to me to be the best that I can be, to try to hold that place for healing and support, but more so empowerment of what that feels like. So if you know that you are there,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
you know that you know. And that sounds hokey for somebody else who's not hearing it the way it's intended. But for those clients that I meant to work with, they will hear that. So I would help, I would just say, so somebody's feeling a little bit funk, their life isn't going the way they want it. It could be depression, it could be, I mentioned anxiety, chronic anxiety. Those are all stresses that take away the vigor, the goodness, from our essence. But if we learn to reframe and do those things differently, including the habits that support it, and that's why it's a program rather than just a one-off. I do that as well, but it's just to give people a sense of, okay, here's where you get kickstarted. But if you really want to follow through on a program to help support what it is that we do for a fit, then the rest of the habit kinds of things that we've learned how to support somebody in doing that is what I do as well.
So beautiful, Glenda. That's really just, it sounds like you are really helping a lot of people doing the work that you're doing in the world. And just, and what I heard, what you said earlier is, I can't remember the wording you said, but something about overthinking and ping ponging your way through life. I love that. I love that metaphor, because so many people are ping-ponging their way through life and doing these things. I also heard people pleasing and placating others. They're doing things not necessarily for themselves, but because either they feel like they need to please somebody, they don't want to disappoint, or they feel like this is something that they just have to do. And I love how you're a part of changing that paradigm, that as you probably know, just from, we're in a very similar spiritual community, is that the world is changing. The world is changing and people are changing. And whether they realize it or not, they're coming to you. Maybe they're coming to you for anxiety, or they're coming to you because they're dissatisfied with their life. And what that really is an invitation to look further into themselves and learn about who they truly are.
Fantastic. Oh, do you mind if I speak to that real quick?
Of course, please.
Oh, thank you. Because
Yes, please.
the more that we can all do that, the more then, like you say, we can support each other, be a beacon for somebody else who wants to show up in this community that we're speaking about, which is actually the world. We make change, right? And even if this is just the only thing I ever do in my whole life is talk to you about it, and maybe it helps one person somewhere, and if I take that model of, I forgot the lady I spoke about earlier, her program at that time from what she brought back with her, called Metamorphosis. Yeah, it was just about, coming from the tunnel of drama to feeling more connected to the we, like you and I speaking. But then she brought you to the sense of oneness, which was that which she experienced, that sense of love in the universe. And yeah, she gave it to us in a package that was easy to, it was palatable. It was easy to chunk and try and digest. And um, I've got the essence of it just speaking about it, because if you were present in her presence, you couldn't help but feel that activation in your own core of the energetic level where she was at. And when I think about it, I go there, and I'm very fortunate to have experienced that, because if that's even close to what it was like, it's an activation that I can bring into the account. Well, I've never even thought about it, but it's in the Akashic records as well. If we're channeling properly, and again, it's not a spiritual reading as it is helping someone show up for themselves. They're asking questions for themselves, and as well, there's healing work that can happen. And as a healing type of practitioner, we can bring that in as well. So the activation, that level that it comes from, could be that same spiritual frequency I was speaking about that I just got reminded that I did know. So thanks.
Hello, fire goddesses. So, you probably have realized at this point that I don't typically interrupt my podcast episodes, but I'm going to interrupt because am feeling called to let you know that if any content of this podcast resonates with you, whether it's a guest that I bring on or whether it's a message that you heard in one of my podcasts, whether it be from a year ago or a couple of weeks ago, and you're feeling called to want to learn more, you're feeling called to connect, I invite you to really lean into that intuitive hit, because that is your inner wisdom. That is your soul talking to you, asking you to look into something further. Now, it might just be a matter of, hey, I want to go on somebody's website, and maybe there's something on the website that's going to offer value to you. Or you might realize that maybe one of my guests or something about my message is really resonating with you, and you want to move forward and perhaps schedule a call. Now, if you're like so many people, you have been through it all, haven't you? You have been through the fire, you have walked on the coals, you have realized that there is so much more to life than what meets the eye. And I feel like that is so simply stated because, as you probably have already realized, so many of us have been through so much, haven't we? And you may start to recognize that what you want out of life is different than what you wanted out of life even 6 months ago or a year ago. Perhaps your values are changing. So if you are ready to really reclaim your fire, you're ready to really stand in your power, to stand in your truth. You want to claim your financial freedom, your inner peace, your radiant health, your masculine, feminine energy balance. I invite you to schedule a one-on-one call with me. It's linked in the show notes. And really, I totally get it when it comes to hiring your next person. It's kind of a big deal, isn't it? And so many coaches that I've worked with, and even in my individual time with working with people, I usually just offer coaching packages. So this is kind of a unique opportunity to just do a one-off and see if it's a good match, see if you got value out of it. And, there's so much that can happen in 1 hour. So that's it. I'm just putting a little bug in your ear if you're thinking, hey, I want to know more. I hope that you're enjoying this episode. It is my intention to always bring to you the best content, the best value, because really it is my intention to serve humanity in their evolution so that you can have an amazing life. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. You know what, when you were talking about meeting your teacher who had the metamorphosis program, I feel like that is something that happens to all of us at some point. on a conscious level or not. You know, goddesses, when you meet somebody, and whether it's actually a conscious awareness or it's not completely conscious, there's something about, we've all met somebody at some point who radiates this energy, or maybe on the conscious level we're like, oh, I just really like her outfit, or I really like her pretty eyes, or her voice, or something. There's something that we really feel pulled to. We want to be in this person's energy. And in my audience, I feel like I have a mix of everybody. People who are newly awakened or awake curious, and they're like, I don't understand how to read energy. And I want to just, based on what Glenda just talked about seeing this woman, and just there was this knowing, right? This love, this what it was that you felt that day, this light. I want to just really drive home that you do know, you do know energy, and it usually just comes down to, like, there's something about this person and I can't stop thinking about them. And it's not just a matter of a love relationship. It's any kind of connection, because we are all, we attract who we are, or we attract who it is that we need in our life to help take us to that next level of our life. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm also curious if you could, Mia, because even me personally, I've heard of Akashic records. And maybe if you could just tell the goddesses listening, if you could go into that a little bit so people understand what that is, because I feel that that's kind of it might be a newer concept for some people.
Fair enough. The methodology that I learned under was called the Soul's Journey. And I really liked even the name of it. And I didn't know the name before I signed up. I just signed up because it felt like the right thing at the right time. And I've used that as my guiding force when I didn't know, when I was still seeking, and it usually proved me right. So for it, I would honestly say my best understanding is that as a person comes forward and wants a reading, I give them some heads up about some types of things to think about before they show up, so then they can get the best time together. And then what that is to me is my definition, and probably the way everybody perceives it. We're holding space at the highest frequency possible. We do make sure that we tap in on a regular basis to be as prepared energetically and vibrating as best we can. To stay and be an open channel, for what isn't mine. My ego stays out of the way, and I check it at the back door. You'll see if you ever check it out. Actually, yeah, that is part of my verbiage, and energetically, I'm very aware. I leave it at the back door. I kind of leave it guarding the house, so to speak. But what is it? It would be asking the questions of our soul. It's the best way I can frame it. What am I here to do? What do I need to do or to see that I'm not seeing to do the next best right thing? And that could be on any level. It could be, from when I'm 1 year old, if there's a belief I'm holding. So like I say, activating on an energetic level to the love frequency I was just speaking about. Or holding on, there's past lives involved. Again, I believe this to be true, which may not sit with others, but I believe energy healing can happen a lot faster than we all perceive it's possible.
Yes.
And because of that, I hold that type of a container. And I also hold the container in regard to, yes, past lives are important. I don't believe, this is my approach, that we need to take, an exasperated amount of time in going through the suffering. But I would ask you, okay, if that's the point in time where we're at in our conversation, what is the meaning that the soul needed to learn? What's important? What did you learn from life? Those types of questions, rather than the, oh my God, I'll be blunt. I was a prostitute and my da 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 da. Okay, that comes up. However, what's the importance? Is it the drama, the suffering, the pain? Or is it, what was the lesson that we needed to learn in order to then come into this moment of time? This is the moment in time you come for a reading and you want to know what that purpose is. And let's sit with it, if it's the time for us to be knowing of it. And if it's not, then we learn what it is that we need to know from it in that space and time. It's not for me to say, I'm not the bearer of the knowledge. I'm the voice of the knowledge. Point is that it's been said to me and explained in this way. Everything accumulates to that one point in time, to when the person needs to know that particular part of the message. And when it's appropriate, that information is given. And that's what cumulative to help me to know what my purpose here is, to bring that light to other people. Even though on different levels I might have learned it, like I say, the ping pong or the different situations in life that brought me the messages that I wasn't listening to, fully, deeply anchoring it in. So when I did receive it, it was like, there was no question. I instantly, all those little things lined up for me, and I went, oh. And now I just needed to know what to do with my humanness to sink into that. Yes, I am worthy when I come from that energy source that I'm speaking. Because my ego isn't there. If it is, I hear it, I feel it, and it's like it's not it. Because when I'm sitting in what I believe to be my source energy or my spiritual leadership energy, it's very different. Like I say, it's an untapped resource of energy that's honest, because it won't allow me to lie to myself if I really listen. It's not me. So it helped me to do my own work in the Akashic Records. And that's the way I've been taught. I was always really good at distracting because I didn't know how to ask questions to dig deeper. And honestly, this method of teaching, it helped this person to sit in that energies, shift what I've learned that can, I didn't need to go on the path I went on per se for the energy learning, but then I can sit in here and go, of course you did, Glenda. That's my own energies now speaking of the universal. That's my truth. I needed to gain the lessons, to deepen into suffering's necessary, but it doesn't need to be extended. Healing can happen quickly. You know, the phrases that you'll hear are, there's hooks, there's generational, there's, you know, they're not wrong. They're true, but there's a but. How long do I need to continue to stay in them? If it's ready and it's the right time to release them, that's the time that we find out, you know, are we ready? And it's not me, are we ready? And it's a yes or a no, very simply. And then we work on clearing it, and it doesn't take hours. Anyway, so I'm going to stop, bring it home.
I I really, really I loved hearing you talk about that. And I mean, a couple of takeaways, you know, for those of you listening, I really invite you to listen to this episode more than one time, because Glenda is a wealth of knowledge. But, you know, there is this, what I'd like to extract from this specifically is, you know, there is so much suffering in the world. And there is this conception, or there's this preconceived notion that suffering is just part of the human experience and we just have to deal with it. And what you're saying is, I mean, suffering is here to serve us and doesn't need to last forever and ever. And that healing, I love what you said, is that the energy is infinite. Divine energy, you know, energy that comes from source, whatever you call source, your higher self, God, universe, quantum field, whatever that means to you, that energy is infinite. And what happens, so many of us feel that we don't have enough energy. It's not a matter of not having enough energy, but it's a matter of really knowing how to harness our energy and take care of ourselves and make choices to use our energy in certain ways that will bring more energy towards us. So I'm just reflecting that back. I loved that. And you have such a way with words, Glenda. I just want to acknowledge you for that too. That, I don't know if you're planning on writing a book or if you've written a book, but you have a way with words. You really do.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. I'm just curious to know, I feel like we kind of dove into this a little bit, but just talking about your gifts. If you could just tell us a little bit about your gifts and what makes you unique, and how, when you help people specifically.
Okay. I think I can listen very well to maybe what isn't said underlying when somebody, like you say, to go to the point B. Sometimes I can listen, because for years when you're pleasing other people, you learn to be a really good listener. You learn on a heart level what is important to them. So that made it be easy for me to sink into, you know, what's important for me is showing up with that flow. If I'm going to hold space for you, when I say the flow of universal energy, I've held sacred space for people even in transition, multiple times. That was what I did for service work when I didn't know that I wanted to do this for work. And I don't mean to minimize. It was easy for me, and I didn't know why it was easy. And now I do. And it was such a sacred space that I could hold energy from doing Reiki work that came naturally. And it was easier to deal with the beyond aspect of things. And it was sometimes easier to be in the living world.
Wow.
And now I choose to do the living world because there's lots to be shared with love. And to do it from a sense of one, it's like you're speaking from a community. So if I can help one person come back home to the love that I believe we are and that we share that, then we emulate that. I don't believe just one fold, but exponentially, like, how to the power of whatever. Well, it's to the power of the universe, but, 2 times 2 isn't 4. It now becomes greater than. It was shown to me in meditation, we all become heart coherent. The more we can do that on the planet, then we can all shift that kind of energy frame on the planet. And it becomes a better, healthier, safer. Yeah. So that's, I believe, is my unique, what I've been trying to bring people home to that. And it's easier to do than I ever understood once I came home. And I'm going to stop with that because honestly, that was my learning of many years. But I chose to keep suffering, I suppose, if you call it that. But it didn't feel like I was. Not at all. I enjoyed life. But I like it from this perspective much better.
It is a
I
lot.
see it from a different, well, that's what it is. I see it from, as we were shown, from the higher, from the skyscraper perspective, the bird's eye view. That is really what's important, not the small stuff teaches us things, but it's, resonate from what makes us happy. And only then can I show up to be the best for somebody else in their suffering and help them see that if I can. Yeah, that's my gift.
Thank you, Glenda. You are such a light. I really just, I'm guessing that many people will glean from you just some amazing lessons and even probably feel on an energetic level what a light you are. And so I just want to honor you and thank you for sharing everything that you shared today.
Thank you.
So how can the goddesses listening find you?
Oh, golly. If you're listening and it resonates, I think that's number one, because then we know that we might have some sense of flowing, some kind of something for healing. And if that's the case, then you can reach me, probably DM me, direct message me on my personal page, which is Glenda Barber. You have to use all 3 acronyms. I find that's very important for me. And I don't even need to understand why. I think I do now. It's a collective of both parents' names. And they make me who I am. And I was the last one to bear both their names. And the last namesake passed at Christmas time, which it's still okay. He actually had a great life. So the point is, I guess it's important that you make sure you find the account. This is Glenda Barber. Because in the past, I didn't use all 3.
Lovely.
Direct message me and we'll have a chat and ask any questions you might have. Whether we're a fit or not, it's not about, it's about sharing it. And we can go from there. Okay.
Thank you, Glenda. And I will also put all your contact information in the show notes because I know you're on Facebook. Are you on Instagram?
Yes.
Well?
And Instagram is glendabarber.motivator.
glendabarber.motivator.
Okay, thank you.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenda. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you. And thank you for bringing your light and your beautiful energy today.
Thanks very much.
So much gratitude. And until next time, goddesses, thank you so much for listening. Be radiant, be powerfully authentic, and know that you can always reclaim your fire anytime, no matter what the circumstances. Until next time, take care.
Thank you so much for listening to the Reclaim Your Fire podcast. If you have found value in this podcast, please share this podcast with those you care about. As you probably already know, in order for the world to change, we need to change. So spread the word by sharing this podcast or by leaving a review in iTunes. Until next time, Fire Goddess, be radiant, be fiery, and be powerfully authentic. Take care.